did have, I remember before you left the cabin up in New York, didn't you have an experience with, lights shining in through the window?
Oh, that light, that was not a light shining in the, yeah, I did. I'll tell you that story. It's a very straight story. This thing, whatever it is, it is not something as simple as alien scientists coming from another planet to look us over. This is to do with us in the deepest possible way, in ways that are even deeper than we can as yet understand. And I'll tell you precisely why we can't understand yet. We can't understand because there is a barrier between us and the soul. We don't know what it is. And it's just exactly like it was before radio was invented. We couldn't understand it. A 16th century person couldn't understand radio no matter how hard you tried to explain it to him, because he had no context for it. We don't have any context for understanding the soul, but it's the primary reason we're here. Now, let me backtrack just for a second here.
Sure.
Back to that experience, because it wasn't just a light shining in the window. That was the end of a year or two of contact and involvement with a group of people who were in second body. They were from between the worlds. And for whatever reason, they were able to project themselves into the physical world. And if they were careful and in balance, to flow in time with me as we flow in time. One night I was meditating in my meditation room, and suddenly I felt I'd gotten very sensitive about the presence of beings or people I couldn't see in this house. So had Anne, in fact, not to mention the cats. And I became aware that there was someone standing right in front of me while I was meditating, sitting on the floor. And I meditated on for a while, and I finally said, look, I can't handle this. I know you're there. And I need to see you. If I can't see you, I can't meditate. Nothing happened. So I said, okay, I'm going to bed. And I'm sorry, if you want to meditate with me, I have to be able to see you at least once. So I go to bed. I waked up at about 2 o'clock in the morning by someone punching me on the shoulder, which is the visitor wake up. I was very familiar with it. And it woke me up immediately because it meant cool, but probably also scary things were going to happen.
I was going to ask, were you cool with getting hit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, listen, it happens all the time. It just happened the other night. I've been engaged with this in the past couple of weeks, big time. But in any case, let's go back there. There, sitting on the foot of the bed, is this man. He's not big. He's not huge. He's, maybe 4.5 or 5 feet tall at most. He's and this is important to understand, he's very, very still. He's still because he's balancing. He's literally like someone walking a tightrope, balancing in our flow of time. I get out from under the covers. I go down to the foot of the bed, and I look at him. I am a foot away, 2 feet away from his face. And his eyes are deep and dark, and I know why. It's because they see from outside of time. They see more than we see. They're hard to look at, but by this time, because I understand this, I can do it. I take his hand in mine, and it's like a butterfly. It's so light, but it's there. It's solid. I smell his skin, and it's amazing.
What did it smell like?
It smelled like the skin of somebody who had never heard of bathing. That's what it smelled like. It was extremely strong. And I was astonished because I hadn't expected it to smell like anything. I thought it was a sort of almost semi-material ghost.
Right.
But there was something deeply human about him at the same time. I put his hand down, but I wasn't careful. I didn't put it down too slowly enough. I sort of dropped it because I was surprised at how ripe he was, frankly.
Right.
And that caused him to shake, and he disappeared because he literally fell off the tightrope. But then I had seen him. Do you understand what a peak experience this is? I'm telling you about something that has happened once.
Right.
This was an incredible thing. But then it began meditation. They would come and bang me on the shoulder twice a night. At 11, I would meditate at 11, at 3, and at 6. This has started again, by the way, but instead of banging me on the shoulder, now they're hitting me in the toe hard. Wakes you right up, I can tell you. Of course, now I'm 70. Then I was in my 40s. I guess they figured I was easier to wake up. But in any case,
interesting.
I would go back, I would meditate, and when they came, you would hear these bangs on the roof, thuds, 7 thuds on the roof. And Annie would hear the thuds, and she finally said one night, well, look, I want to do this. I want to go in there with you. I said, sure, come in. I'd love to have you meditate with us. So she comes in. The 7 thuds happen. Then you can feel presences in the room, even though you can't see them. She says, I'm not actually ready for this.
Right.
And she leaves.
Right.
But she was there, nevertheless. And then it comes. Fast forward, I could tell you about the times people saw those 7 balls of light floating in the woods, which was wonderful, but that's another part of the story. Fast forward to, we've lost the cabin. My sales have cratered, and they never recovered, by the way, never did. After South Park made me a national laughingstock, the rectal probe man.
Right.
It's one thing to buy a book by somebody who's controversial, but by a book by somebody who's being laughed at ain't gonna happen.
Right.
And so I was dead in the water all of a sudden. And my sales dropped 90% from one book to another, to the next. And I had been destroyed. So I had no money. So I had to give up the cabin. I had to leave. First, by this time, I've been meditating with them a long time, and I have been through a glorious experience, which I detail at some length in Supernatural. It was extraordinary. And so I'm able to say on that last night, this is my last night. And you can hear them actually shuffling around. I mean, they're moving up there on the roof. You can hear the creaks because they could be solid if they wanted to. They didn't have to be, but they could be, and they were there.
Whitley, this was literally your last night. I mean,
like
you moved out of the
next morning at 9 o'clock. We would drive out for the last time.
And so, did they know about this departure with you from the
told
cabin?
Them. They were very sensitive.
Right.
They would not do anything to change the flow of my life, but they were there with me, and they are there with me now. But in any case.
Okay, so let's go back to the light in the window. Yeah.
I said that last night, I said, this is the last night. I know that you showed me yourself as a physical body, but I also know that's not what you actually look like, because there is no place where people who look like that are. You are something else. And I know the balls of light, the kids have, some of the kids who used to be there have seen the balls of light in the woods. I did not see them, but they did. Some of the kids saw them. And I know that's you guys, you people, but I want to see what you look like. I want to see what a soul looks like when it appears in this world. Nothing happened. So I went to bed. I'm lying there, and suddenly there's a light in the front yard. The way it worked was the bedroom was here. I was in the bedroom. The next room over was the meditation room. So both the bedroom and the meditation room looked out over the front lawn and driveway.
Right.
So the light's coming from the meditation room, and I can see it, this big glow, and it was so big I thought, oh my God, the place is on fire. And I jumped up and ran to the front window, and this light comes out over the lawn. It was incredibly beautiful. And not only beautiful, but alive, because it had rays coming out of it like laser beams, very thin white laser beams. And they would touch you and prick your skin. And you could feel and taste another person as this light moved across your skin. It was like being embraced in the most intimate, sweetest, deepest, and most deeply challenging way you can possibly imagine. I say deeply challenging because it was incredibly intimate. Not sexually intimate, but intimate in ways that we're not intimate. We can't be intimate. We don't have that capability.
Right.
This was intimacy, soul to soul intimacy.
And you were comfortable and happy.
No, it was too much for me.
That was my. That's where I'm going.
And as soon as I began to feel that fear, it very gently, the light moved back.
Right.
And it hung there, just glowing. I could only see the glow for a few seconds and then went out. And suddenly I understood what 5 billion years of evolution are all about. That's what they are about. And when you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson or one of these jokers
right.
telling you there is no such thing as a soul,
right,
you remember this story, please.
Yes.
Because this is what you have the right to be, and most of us do not become.
Wouldn't you love to sit down and set Richard Dawkins straight one day? But
no, I don't have time.
Yeah, thank
he
you.
has his life to live. He'll come. He'll do what he has to do. It's not my business at all.
Right. He's
but anyone who's listening to this and listening to this show, there's a chance, and it's very simple. It's not hard to live a good life. You live a life of love and compassion, and you do what the master of the key said. I asked him, the master of the key, back in 1998, I asked him, what is sin? And he said, denial of the right to thrive. And if you live by that, and you live by love and compassion, you're gonna leave this world with a good soul.